to 52 Lockup. I am your Apple Teeny Cadma, bitten Apple TV. 52 Lockup is a series I started to talk about one of my biggest passions, true crime. A new episode on every Cad Maniac Monday. 52 Mondays, 52 crimes. Yes, I know I still owe you an episode. Haven't forgotten. Hope you guys enjoy it. Be sure to like, leave some feedback, subscribe. You know the usual. Viewer discretion is always advised. I will be discussing the death of a teenager. Please pardon my face. It is hot, and I quite frankly prefer the weather that matches my heart. So, let's carry on. Let's all take a walk to the pharmacy. That's right. Riley Whitelaw was born on January 20th, 2005 in Colorado Springs to her mother, Courtney Whitelaw, sorry, and Chris Johnson. She had a dog named Judy growing up, but she mostly grew up with the older generations of her family, like her grandparents, her older aunts and uncles, that kind of thing, which essentially made her very well versed when it came to communicating with others. Anyone who's also been the youngest and everyone else is like super older than you, you're just kind of the only one, it changes how you speak. She attended the Air Academy High School. Riley's pastimes included, while she was growing up, making silly videos with her friends, and she really genuinely enjoyed bringing laughter to others and making other people smile. She would pay attention to her surroundings, and if other people were down and they were like, oh man, I'm having a bad day, she was your support system. She was always there for others. That was her thing, right? And she believed in putting her best foot forward in life. And if she needed to particularly perfect a skill set that she did not have, she had the confidence and the ambition to push herself to get things done. She loved nature. She apparently was quite the artist. She loved to paint. She played the guitar. She spent much of her short life collecting school and local awards. She even joined the Air Academy High School's Color Guard, which is also the high school's marching band. I remember those days. I was actually in the marching band myself. When Riley turned 16, she began working, saving up money like she wanted to. She had goals set in mind, and she began working at Walgreens, a common pharmacy across the United States. So when I typically go to Walgreens, I usually see teenagers there, at the register, cleaning up the aisles. It's not the place I would think of in regards to a place of murder, right? So Riley caught the attention of 27-year-old Joshua Johnson while she was 16 years old. He was attracted to Riley, but Riley turned him down politely. However, being polite and saying no was not sufficient for Joshua. Gee, how many times have we heard that story? He continued to pursue Riley for a year. He kept making her really, really uncomfortable. So I'm going to sidetrack and bring it back to the story. Toxic masculinity teaches men that they are owed sex. They are not allowed to have emotions or process them because that's female stuff. And a lot of other dangerous ideologies, right, that damage them, not just women, but also men as well. Side note, women do not owe you sex. Young women need to be protected from predators, and young men too as well. Now, anyone over the age of 24, 25 years old, your brain and your cognitive capabilities have been fully developed. So if this is the best that you are fully aware of what you are doing. People like this tend to pick someone younger because it's easier to mentally mold them, because someone older will actually know better in the sense of what someone's doing, and they call that grooming, right? But predators, they don't like to pick people that will fight back, and Riley was not stupid or naive, but she might have been a little easier to, quote unquote, in a sense, bully or corner. Even though she could speak well, and she was not stupid, she was not naive, and she grew up with an older crowd, she can converse and speak her mind freely, she was still having issues with this guy. So she talks to her family, now she talks to her manager at Walgreens about Joshua making her very uncomfortable because he's pursuing her, a 16-year-old. So these are the kind of things that women are generally fighting back against, right? When you go to the victim, let's step into victim blaming, right? So a victim blamer will automatically just say, well, what was she wearing? Her work uniform. Did she say no? Yes, politely, and did not, change her ground. Like, she stood her ground. A victim blamer will be like, she should have told someone. She did. It's still her fault. Why didn't she call the cops? The crime wasn't yet committed. She's a minor. Circumstantial evidence. We all know that stands in court. Not going to go well. Well, she probably let him on. She didn't. She said no. She said no clearly. But what she was wearing must have let him on. Right? Or it's not that serious. I mean, he just likes her because, boys will be boys. Right? Because that's always the acceptable answer. Victim blaming is a whole other special mindset. This is the kind of individual who will go out of their way to listen to the story and then pick out what they would like and then blame the other person. And I often think that's because it comes from a low-key guilty conscience. However, anyway, Riley Whitelaw is the representation of what women fear and what women often frequently talk about. Men who support women won't be triggered by this video. FYI, whether in a personal conversation or social media, women and women presenting persons discuss how men will behave in manners that they are basically owed sex or they want something in exchange, like here's a dick pic I didn't ask for. We have all seen the videos, where there's some guy will be like, equal rights means equal fights, means I can punch a woman, yeah! Even though these are the same douchebags who don't have the cojones to go punch another man because, they're equal. Now, these are the same men who probably would not approach an Amazonian-built woman and forget that there are weaker and smaller men as well. Both genders come in different sizes. Now, yes, traditionally men will be larger and stronger because we need you guys to pick things up and put them down, but that's relatively about it. Now we can hire someone for that. But just because someone's bigger or stronger than you doesn't mean they actually can't be taken down. Now, the men who will make these comments will carefully pick their victims, right? Because they want someone who's not going to fight back, right? So the gender essentially is irrelevant. You're looking at someone who's very predatory, right? Her consistent complaint to the managers at Walgreens seems very much ignored, right? It was treated as like a so what kind of thing. And this is very common. When women are being harassed and they speak up, they are met with this victim blaming question game, right? Or victim blaming commentary and responses of a shrug and, that's how boys are. Or like, it's just a joke. And a lot of this starts from a young age that's not corrected, and then it blossoms into some other bullshit as they get older. Now, each woman will have a tale about this. You'll find women will give in to like just providing the sex, thinking it will never be changed, and they'll internalize that misogyny, right? You will find women that will, like myself, who will advocate for other women and speak up regardless. These tales are too common, for women as well as women presenting. Now, some women will give into the sex, right? Because they're like, well, if I don't have sex with him because he's coercing me, he may kill me, or he may try to force, anything else. They're trying to limit the violence, right? Which baffles me, right? Because if your whole purpose of coercing them means that you're trying to prove that you're desirable as a man, you still technically haven't achieved what you wanted because she doesn't actually want you. You forced it out of her, or you took it from her. Anyways, here is one of many examples I have from my personal experiences and other stories that I have permission to share. So let's quote. This will be fun. Had a man follow me off the train, then grope me after I said not only no, but that I was married. Apparently that wasn't enough. Had a guy try to shove me down the stairs in college when he accused me and demanded to know why I kissed another student hello on the cheek. A student, I may add, that I've known outside of the school for about 8 years at this point from church. Had a guy expose himself as if that was going to convince me to give him a chance, unsolicited. A woman entered the train shaken up. This man sat across from her and apparently he had flashed her and started following her onto the train and then sat boldly across from her smirking. She's scared. She made a scene and then instinctively all of the women knew what was happening and jumped up to her defense. The train had men and women on it, just so we're clear. Only the women stood up. Once the man actually left the train, she was shaken up, crying, hysterical, and all the women just gathered around her to simply console her because they all knew. They knew it was another Monday. They knew it was another Friday, another 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 10 p.m., 3 p.m. The one that stood out to me was when I was coming home from school and this drunk guy said something to me, but it was in Spanish and I didn't understand him. I said, sorry, I can't help you. and kept walking. He gets up and starts following me. I confronted him to say out loud, "Why are you following me? I can't help you." He got aggressive and starts cursing at me, and then starts talking about his penis. He tried to hug me, and when I said stop, he got more aggressive. People were there and saw, but did not help me. I had to run and hide inside of a store until my mother could come pick me up. This guy was a big guy. This is the time that you started taking me home a few times. That's someone that I know, because I was taking him home for that purpose reason, because I was looking for him. Anyways, because I'm that bitch. Just want you to know, like, if you need support, I'm your girl. Anyways, next story. I remember the time my cousin was coming home from the movies with her friends, and they rang our doorbell at 11:30 at night in order to escape the clutch of this guy, of a group of guys, right, that was following them from 14th Street all the way into Brooklyn. The guys were hanging out in front of their house waiting to see if the girls came back out for about an hour. Dad ended up driving them home after going in circles because they only lived like 3 blocks away, but just in case if the men were watching. I was 12 years old and just graduated the 8th grade. A man, obviously turning 30, soon grabbed me up and raped me. A week later, I saw him with his girlfriend in a store and freaked out. He grabbed her and pulled her out of the store and said he didn't know me. I was 17. I was at Kmart, at Astor Place. I was with my friend, and we were there in the furniture department, just sitting and talking, doing teenagey things. And this random elderly Asian man, old enough to be my grandfather, began to circle around us. Right? What's he doing? So then he decides to sit right next to us, like super close. So we got up, right? And he followed us all the way to the bathroom. Now, I was the first person to get out and wait for my friend. While I was waiting, this guy came out of nowhere, shoved his hands into my pants, groped me, and I panicked. He tried to quiet me, and I bit his hand. And I screamed, "No." I ran back into the bathroom. I told my friend what happened, and to wait. We should just wait. She got impatient and walked out of the bathroom because they were waiting for a while. Hoping he had left. He had gotten bored and walked away. They were waiting because her mom was calling. So she went out. A few moments later, she comes back crying. He groped her and tried to rip off her shirt. I was young, and I admit it was careless. But I went to confront him. And he was like saying how all girls are like that. And you're a girl. You can't say no to a man. A woman who worked there realized what was happening, came to help, and threatened to call the police. Now, my friend said he did more to her, but she was too terrified to say anything. To this day, I don't fully know what happened to her. I was drinking with friends after a crazy breakup, and I went from having full function of my body to suddenly feeling more drunk and messed up than I normally would. I watched a supposed girlfriend of mine talk about going down on me. I remember my thoughts and remember not having control over my body. The guy there was pissed. She got to do something to me, and they argued over my body. And when the girl walked away, he picked me up and repeatedly had his way with me in and out of consciousness. Then told my boyfriend that I slept with him on purpose, and we ended up breaking up. Had a guy who managed a local supermarket follow me around the store for years, asking for my number since I was 13. Stopped after he realized that not only did my boyfriend, soon-to-be husband, existed, but that his best cashier was my cousin. My ex-husband raped me in my sleep. Had a guy get his friends to surround me, to talk him up, after I turned him down for a date while I was leaving the bathroom at a church dance. By the way, I was 14 and he and his friends were clearly pushing 30. I was 15, and a man in his late 20s, early 30s asked for my number. I told him no and how old I was, and he called me a bitch and began to follow me. I was raped by a friend I told no to. Turned him down, even though he knew I was in a relationship. I ended up pregnant, and I broke up with the love of my life because I couldn't figure out how to tell him I was raped and it may not be his child. They would actually tell me later on. Eventually, they would find out, and the guy was heartbroken that had even happened to her, and he wasn't there to protect her. I went into a store once, and my boyfriend at the time was literally in the doorway with his back to me. I was in there getting a drink because it was a hot summer day. The guy in the back saw him and then waited until I was out of view from him and then cornered me and went to grope me and lift up my skirt. When I got out from the back, I realized that the guy at the front had closed the door so my boyfriend couldn't hear me. I was 20. Those men were well over 40. I ran out of the store and was too scared to tell my boyfriend and was having a complete breakdown. He knew something happened. He didn't know what everything happened. My mom's friend kept hitting on me and touching me. I told my mom, and I was called a liar. Eventually, he raped me. I was in a restaurant, minding my business. I was actually the only female there, and then when I finally get up to go to the bathroom, it seems that apparently 5 men got up to go follow me to the bathroom that was extremely tiny and tried to break down the door. If it wasn't for my gigantic male best friend, Ralph, being there, those men would have definitely broken in to the room. The reason why they stopped was because they felt like, oh, we didn't know this was yours. So Riley made noise, like victim blamers say we should, right? And a year later, she would go to work, again, still trying to avoid Joshua Johnson, as best as she could at Walgreens. But the Walgreens didn't really resolve the issue completely. Riley's boyfriend, Jacob Leacock, began to work at Walgreens apparently 3 months ago. And this did not deter Joshua. The manager, Crystal, actually later would say that she knows that Joshua was showing signs of jealousy about this. Riley requested, to work shifts that were opposite to Joshua. And recently she had just requested to have some overtime because she wanted to, make a little extra cash. She was told that the shifts were going to collide with Joshua by the manager, Justin, as a warning. July 11, 2022, Joshua Taylor Johnson was seen on surveillance footage stacking bins in front of the camera. Riley goes to the break room to take her break at around 5:30 p.m. Joshua goes to attack Riley and she screams. Her screams were heard, but no one investigated. In fact, actually a customer named Alicia, hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Shenwenke, I'm going to put her name up there so I don't butcher it and I apologize, even reported what sounded like a woman screaming at around 5:45 p.m. She also heard stalls, bam, bam, slamming, right? She even told the police what she had heard, when she actually happened to be passing by the store again to let them know what she had heard, right? She had told the employees, but no one apparently went to go investigate and see what the sounds were, right? Now, even if you thought it was something stupid, right? The screaming, I don't understand why no one checked. I hear a yelp from an ant and I look up to make sure all is good. Unfortunately, Riley would be strangled to death. Her blood was splattered all over the break room floor. Cabinets and counter from the struggle that they had of him, obviously just beating the crap out of her and choking her to death. And she struggled for her life. Joshua took tons of bleach to clean the scene and then left to go home. 90 minutes go by before anyone notices, hey, Riley hasn't returned from break. Like a true manager, right? Store manager Justin Zunino was called by manager Crystal Ishmael around 5:30 p.m. going, Riley hasn't come back. Like, it's a little, where's she at? Crystal apparently did not look hard enough for her. After talking to Justin, she decided to just wait for Justin to return to the store. So Justin returns to the store around 6 p.m. and reviews the surveillance video. The video showed an employee, Joshua Johnson, stacking up the bins in front of the surveillance camera till it blocked the view of the camera. and stated that someone had taped over the windows in the area of the break room. The restroom closed sign was in the area to keep people out, which typically does not occur till the close of the business. Manager Crystal Ishmael went looking for Riley, supposedly, and noticed this heavy scent of bleach in a dumpster area. When she went to go open the door, she heard a man tell her, "I'm changing! Go!" Joshua would later admit that was him in the break room changing because he fell in Riley's blood when he arrived. It was crazy. It was just there. He didn't know what happened to her. He just slipped in it. 6:55 p.m. Colorado Springs Police Department received a 911 call from the Walgreens at 66820 Centennial Boulevard, located within the city of Colorado Springs. It's around 7 p.m. when the police arrived. The manager found her body, saw some feet, saw it was Riley, called the cops. One of the managers who had noticed the sign, which I'm pretty sure it was Justin who had noticed the footage, was the one trying to work with the police officers and give them as much information as possible. By then, Joshua had already clocked out and just left the scene like nothing happened. I don't know what happened. I was crazy how I slipped in it. Joshua would be arrested on June 12th, around 100 miles away from Colorado Springs. Apparently, he was just taking a walk along the interstate with scratches along his hands and face. He was like, I was attacked at Walgreens. It's crazy. After being arrested, he told the cops he was no longer interested in Riley because he was now dating and intimate with Crystal. Crystal Ishmael, the manager? The one who called? That's something Crystal did not tell authorities initially. He's being charged with first-degree murder. There has been a GoFundMe account started to establish a scholarship in honor of Riley. If you want to check it out, it's in the description, references down below. Senior Director of Walgreens, Fraser Engerman, said that the company was saddened by the loss and said safety inside stores is a top priority. The company has also offered counseling services and other resources to the Centennial Boulevard store location team. A news outlet stated that Mr. Zunio, that's the other manager, stated that he had warned Joshua to keep things professional, and Joshua appeared to be receptive. Although this case is obviously still ongoing, anyone with information that might help with the investigation, of course, is asked to call the Colorado Springs Police Department at 719-444-7000. I'll repeat it one more time. 719-444-7000. Callers who wish to remain anonymous may call the Crime Stoppers tip line at 719-634-STOP. Again, 719-634-STOP or 1-800-222-8477. I'll repeat that one more time. 1-800-222-8477. Teach your sons to respect no. It doesn't make them any less of a man. I know a guy who's actually quite the ladies' man, right? And he can't stand the idea of coercing a woman into sex, right? Because in his words, and I quote him, I need to feel wanted. I want to feel wanted. And if I coerce her into it, I'm not really wanted. He needs consent. That's what feeds his ego. Okay, if you're going to try to be a man whore, work like that. Comprehending how your emotions are is not gender-based. Emotional intelligence is required for personal growth in general. That's just beneficial for you and anything else you're looking for, right? Teach generations that no means no. Do not get hostile. Do not teach. She doesn't mean no. Do not try to drug them. Do not try to cross boundaries. There are too many people in the world to meet and mingle with. Move on to the next person. Don't say, well, women play hard to get. First of all, I'm against anyone doing that in general. However, there are people of both genders that like to be chased. And if you stop pursuing them because you respect their boundaries, I guarantee you that person will turn back around and be like, what happened? I thought you were... No? They'll tell you. They will tell you. I guarantee you they will tell you. Get consent. Have a conversation about what you want, what they want. And if they don't want you in that way, respect it. Leave it alone. If they do not want to hang out with you, respect it. Leave it alone. The most attractive characteristic is to respect another person's boundaries. Do not intentionally cause harm, whether physical, verbal, emotional, or mental, just because you decided someone else doesn't have the right to tell you no, or the right to do something that they would like to do for themselves that does not harm anyone else. Women presenting, men and men presenting, feel free to share your stories of a time someone did not respect your boundaries when you said, no, not interested. And how did the other person respond? I mean, it's a sad case because the girl's she's 17 years old. He's been pursuing her since she was 16. That doesn't make any sense. Now, I know some people are going to argue, like, well, there are some relationships that start off like that. You have to be really careful with that. Be very careful with that. There's a lot of grooming in that. A lot. And I feel like often when victims are talking about being harassed, not enough measures are taken to protect them from these things, right? That's how things happen where someone is raped or someone gets coerced or pushed and forced into sex, and then victim blamers will be like, well, she didn't really want it, she wouldn't have done it. When the truth is, they're scared for their lives. They're scared. Those are the people that you need to protect. And I think it's unfair that Riley is someone who was there for other people, there to support others. When others were down, who needed support, she was there, and she wasn't giving that back. I used to work at a location where there's this guy who used to try to because I did a little bit of the IT stuff, he would just lean back with his cell phone to take a picture underneath my dress. I made it very clear that I slit his throat. I was like, I'm not shy about this. We can do this. I'm ready to die today. I don't think you are. And I wasn't the only one that complained about him. And the annoying part was, when I spoke up about it, they were like, oh, man. That was it. That was the response. It wasn't until there was an entire rally of us in everyone's office throwing a fit, yo, this is not safe. This is not normal. This is not okay. And I remember someone dismissing, because one of the girls, they considered to be fast, right? So she was very sexual, right? Very, very sexually active. And because of that, I remember hearing someone make the commentary she's easy anyway. So what is she complaining about? It doesn't matter. She said no. The person who's not easy said no. You don't have the right to do those kind of things. So when someone says no, you respect no. It's just no. That is the end of it. My best friend is this kind of person who will see some shit going down and will walk over and be like, bro, what are you doing? He checks other men. He's always done this. He's done this to the extent that his other guy friends would refer to him as cock blocker. Not, hey man, thanks for keeping me in check and respecting other human beings, because women are people too. They're like, he's a cock blocker. That's the response? That's your response when someone tells you, be a decent human being? Something wrong with that. There's something very, very wrong with that. Unfortunately, it's too common of a story. Some guy follows, some guy gets upset, some guy thinks it's okay. I mean, you'll find, even on TikTok, you'll find women presenting, right, persons on the line, and they'll talk about how men who are convinced that they are women, and what they'll do is they'll just pursue them relentlessly, and they get angry. And one of them in particular, who I'm not going to bring up which one it is, but they'll tell them yo, my dude, I'm actually a guy, just really well dressed, and they'll be like, oh, you just, and they're determined that if I say something really vulgar about my penis, you're gonna want it. Yeah. These are the kind of guys who don't want to have sex with the women, but rather at a woman. You're just there to just sit still. And quite frankly, that's what you're looking for. There are plenty of vibrators, that look like a vagina. Fill it up with some gel. Boy, you good. Or find some pie. Whatever works for you. You know what I mean? But you don't have to do it to the extent that you have to force someone else. Because if they say no, it's no. I also am a big fan of protecting children. That's right. Girls and boys. Yeah. Can't stand predators. It's a personal one too. Okay? Don't think you should do it. It's sad that this is part of the norm. This is this is the okay thing to do. And a lot of it comes from the fact that it's acceptable for men to do this, right? Now let's even reverse the tables, right? Let's say like the predator is the woman and it's a young boy. The boy will not call out for help, right? Because he thinks he's doing something cool. Like, oh, you got a cougar, she's older than you. What are you supposed to do? Yeah, give her that D. Like, and again, that goes all back to toxic masculinity, teaching the boy that, sure, you're not a victim. This is something that's happening to you. Doesn't really matter because you have a penis and this is a good thing. Duh. It's a problem. That is a serious problem. Respect people's boundaries. If they're not interested, leave them the fuck alone. It's amazing. I know. Hold on. Let me get a little closer. It sounds weird, but if you like respect people's boundaries and then you do things like to like leave them alone, it's incredible. Like when you find business and you mind it, it's so much better. It's so much better. I'm a big fan of treat others how you want to be treated. I am a big fan of, do not intentionally cause harm to another person. You shouldn't be following. Girls, if you're watching this, you're like, oh, I've seen the documentaries. I could name so many women who said no, who had significant others, who had this, who had their parents supporting them. I mean, there's no right way of doing things. Because the responsibility is often placed on women and women-presenting persons because it's like, well, this is your fault. You should fix it. It starts with the approach with boys. It is not okay for boys to do certain things just because of their gender. That doesn't make any sense. There's also, like, for example, there was a kid who kept playing footsie with me in school. I spoke to the teacher. I was like, he keeps touching me. Don't want to be touched. He's like, okay, well, boys. Kind of just scared me off, go back to your seat. I was in the 4th grade. I was pissed. I said, stop. Kept doing it. I said, stop. Kept doing it. I said, I don't like it. Kept doing it. It's like, I'm uncomfortable. Stop. Kept doing it. Then I kicked the shit out of him in his shins and his kneecap. And then when he hit his head on the desk from the force of the way how I leaned back and kicked the crap out of him, his face hit the desk. And then he looked at me and told me that I was mean. And I was like, apparently, you didn't get the point the first 5 times. Yeah, someone made a comment, but like, that was really mean. You didn't have to go that far. He wouldn't stop. And that's my problem. Had I not said anything, he would have continued, and eventually it would have escalated. Like, in the 4th grade, 5th grade, something like that, there was a boy who thought it was okay to slap girls in the ass. And they were like, oh, boys will be boys. Like, question is, where did he learn that was okay to do that to random girls? Where did he think that was okay? Right? And we're all playing handball. He makes his way towards me. And I was having a good old time playing handball. Like, And sure enough, slapped me right on my ass. And when I tell you I had the quickness to yoke him up, he dropped to his knees. Please don't hit me. And I remember the teacher running over really quickly, like, oh dear, like, what happened? And I was just like, someone's about to lose a body part. That's what happened. Like, why'd you touch me, bro? I said, don't touch me. Stay over there. And it's sad. I can't even begin to tell you, as a teenager, the minute my period dropped, the amount of men who suddenly paid me attention. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I was not safe. And that was something that was very, 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 very different for me, right? And when I look back at it, I'm like, it's like they can smell it, right? Leave kids alone. I'm sorry. Like, cause this case like really bothered me because it's just like another case and another case. And I wish I could say Riley's gonna be the last one that we'll ever hear. She won't. I mean, hell, if you guys had even seen, there was a woman where a guy had made some advances. She said no. Then he groped her, and then she fought back. And because she fought back and said no, he decided he was going to beat the crap out of her. And then other women jumped in to assist her. And then a group of men helped him beat the crap out of her and some other women because they felt she didn't have the right to say no. Oh, but there's no war in women. All right, I mean, I get it. I'm imagining it. Anyways, that is today's case. And as always, stay safe, stay vigilant, and if you see something, say something. That's all I got for you guys. I'm sorry. I have so much to rant about, and I'm just gonna leave it alone where I can, because God knows there's so many stories. But yes, for those who have your stories, share them down below. I want to hear your stories. I wanna know. And I think other people should know that they're not alone when these things happen. Thank you so much.